Hello, everyone. Has everyone got a cocktail? There's a few. I saw Les's hand come up straight away. All right. I've got the great pleasure of conducting this amazing panel. So first of all, I'd like to introduce all the participants of our panel. So at the end here, we've got Klaus Kohlmayr from Ideas. Welcome, Klaus.
Thank you.
We've got Tamie Mathews, who's one of our expert partners, who's the CEO and founder of RevenYou. Welcome, Tamie. We've got, these guys have now gone out of order as well, which has really thrown me right out, which is not fair. It's all good. We've got Ryan Tuckermann, the Group Director of Sales, Revenue and Distribution from Ovolo Hotels. Thank you for the wonderful gift, by the way.
Anytime.
It wasn't for me, it was actually for one of our amazing partners or customers that won us, but I'd thoroughly recommend the Canberra one, Canberra Hotel. Yep. Actually, that's a really, really good hotel. So if you're looking where to go, Canberra. And I've also got Min Koo, who's the General Manager of Revenue Management at Virgin Airlines. So welcome, Z. All right, so we're going to explore a little bit about the past, the current, and the future of revenue management. So this should be really quite interesting. So if we look at the past to begin with, so if we trace back the origins of revenue management, it all goes all the way back to the airline industry in the 1970s, with British Airways' predecessor offering early bird bookings, because it was very corporate back in those days. So that's where they were starting to bring that sort of revenue management capabilities in. So Z, why don't we start with you? That's a big, all good to go?
All good to
go. How does the airline industry think about revenue management, and how important is it as a business discipline?
So can everyone hear me? How we think is, I think I start from the second part. It's super important. Let's just put it this way. I think we, speaking on behalf of all the airline industry, I think revenue is the heartbeat of the business. So is everything else. So it's built on, customer experience, preference, operations, all the lot. But revenue is important because it's the front indicator. And for us, it's very clear cut. You take off. If it's empty, it's not good. So I think that's clear cut. I think
unless you've got a spare seat, then it's good.
Yeah. But so I think it's a super important discipline. I think I always describe it to my team, and the reality is it's very competitive. It's also a high fixed cost business relative to many others. So the mindset of every dollar matters, and the days of kind of blanket simple stuff that's done, it's all gone. And so now with the optimization, it's actually all on details. And so I think I tell my team it's like F1. Every second counts, and so in our industry, every dollar counts, and so super important.
Fantastic. And so what about if we shift to the hotel industry? So we're still talking a bit about the past. So I've had the pleasure of visiting a number of our customers and met a number of revenue managers. I come out of the accounting industry, and I thought spreadsheets in the accounting industry were reasonably complex. I was blown away. I've never seen spreadsheets that complex held together with more sophisticated macros than the hotel industry. I think I was going to put a blog post out one day about who has the most sophisticated spreadsheets. Yep. I think it might be the hotel industry. So Tamie, why don't we start a little bit with you? So maybe let's start with you, and the others can jump in, because I'm sure everyone will have an opinion on this. What are your personal memories and lessons from the earliest days of revenue management in the hotel industry?
I would say my biggest memory is going to my first yield management training course and sitting there and just listening to someone talk about we could change prices every day. And it had never occurred to me that we could actually put the price up and down just because it's Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. And I went back to my office and I sat down and I started playing with this new exciting tool. And we started making money, and customers weren't against it. And we could go, okay, it's a busy Tuesday, let's charge a little bit more. But then along came the OTAs as well. And suddenly we were like, well, let's dump rate on the OTAs. Remember those days where we'd be like, oh, there's a cheaper price on booking.com. But if you phoned and talked to me, because I was so amazing, you paid more. Remember those days? We're regretting them all now because everyone goes online now. But it was just a really exciting time where we could start introducing different pricing and learning about events and demand and what happens in our local area. And even back then, we probably shouldn't say this because of competitor laws, we used to ring round our competitors and ask them what their prices were. And then we'd sit down and decide we wanted to be $5 more or $10 more. Now we have all these fancy Excel spreadsheets, but that's where it started. And that was 15, 20 years ago. It's not really that far ago.
What about yourself, Ryan? What's your earliest memory?
Yeah, earliest memory, I'm liking it to more the personalities behind it or that were part of RevenYou. And if you think back when those yield meetings originally started, the revenue manager was someone that would hide behind the spreadsheet. You know, they weren't involved in any discussions with clients, they weren't involved in any negotiations even, but they were behind the spreadsheet and they were very powerful internally. So that was when RevenYou first started to me, and I thought, okay, so revenue managers were looking at a spreadsheet. We used to name them spreadsheets, like they were the spreadsheet of the hotel. But fast forward to current day or even the last 10 years, and I think the technology side of revenue management has made the revenue manager's personality really come alive. You know, they're very powerful. They're negotiating with our corporate clients. They're negotiating with key partners and OTAs. So I think back originally, and I think the revenue manager was a very sterile role. It was just behind that spreadsheet, and technology has really changed that a lot from my point of view and internally with hotels. So,
and Klaus, what about from your perspective?
My earliest memories?
Yeah.
I was working in a hotel in New York and I started changing rates and it actually produced more money.
He was so surprised.
There was no channel manager either, so I spent my days uploading rates manually into the channels. So that was interesting. But then obviously with technology, it made it all easier. But you know, having that experience of changing rates and increasing demand, increasing revenue, was quite eye-opening in my younger years.
I think also for Australian hotels, a few of us are showing my age here, but who remembers whatif.com and the grid across? It had every day listed there, and you saw what competitors were changing and what competitors were doing, and then you were amending what you were doing. But if you had Whatif or all these different OTAs that have now consolidated, you had to change them manually. You had to do it all manually as well. Log into the system, log out, log in, log out, and all the different.
You'd sit there and one person would be on the keyboard and one person would be on the spreadsheet going 125, 106, no, change it to 60.
We were so advanced. We were so advanced back then. Yeah, it's so
and your
true.
boss would walk out of the office going, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm changing the price.
Yield management.
By $1 at a time.
Yes.
And then that's right, you'd refresh, the next hotel would go up.
Yeah.
So
Every dollar does matter.
Every dollar matters.
Hey, we might shift to the present a little bit. So Ryan, what do you see as the biggest challenge currently facing revenue managers, and what are the basic fundamentals for success?
Interesting. Biggest challenge, I would say, is the fear of technology. So it is forever changing, you know, and we all, I mean...
What are they scared of?
Yeah. I think they're actually scared of, is the technology going to replace their job? In all honesty, and I think with my team or from colleagues that I'm talking to in the industry, there's a difference between embracing the technology or just sort of accepting it. So we have so many different platforms that we're working with these days, and it is amazing, but I do see some revenue teams a little bit nervous to think, how is that going to change in the long run? But where I look at it personally, we're only as good as the person using the technology. So where I think the challenge is, it's the staff members intimidated by the technology. But if they embrace it, they're going to be much more powerful to the team and the hotel by being the expert at that system. So I think it's the fear of the technology, if that makes sense.
And what about in the airline industry?
I describe it as a spectrum. I think in the past, a lot of time and effort is done on implementation of the pricing. And you know, you make some decisions, and then you spend some time, as everyone described, it's similar to airline industry in the past, and we're all stuck with, in airline industry it's more interesting, if everyone is conscious, and our price points are stuck by the 26 alphabet. You all get an alphabet when you buy etiquette at some point. And I think, you know, going forward, we are trying to change that and trying to get the different plus. And I think I use it as a way to describe it, because I think the transitioning now is we all want to get away or move in between those alphabets and price points. That's where the whole industry is moving towards. But the biggest challenge and the role of the kind of what in airline, the revenue managers is, in the past it used to be done, you know, someone designed the price point and someone allocate number of seats to each alphabet. They play their own game and the math stacks up. I think in the new world it's an integrated role, and so the one managing the price point and inventory had to consider all the other plethora of data that comes in, which is market, supply, demand dynamics. You know, we talked about day of week, time within the day. We fly multiple frequencies within the day. Everything is different, competitive settings. So the biggest challenge is, how do you absorb more and more data, but actually, how does it help you make decisions? And I go beyond it. I think the role and the biggest challenge now is the concept of test and learn. There's no blanket strategy. You can just say, let's just do X, and we're going to gain or we're going to lose. I think the answer is in the nuance. And so the more help you can get, so that you spend less time on the actual implementation and more time thinking and build upon the plethora of data, use it to your advantage. And for me, the role in airline now, it's all about how do we find the next optimization of full revenue? And some of them may be in volume, which is, you know, we call it load factor. In hotel, we call it occupancy rate. But I think it's a combination of volume and price. So for us, the biggest challenge is shifting from execution, but more and more to deliberate strategies and the spirit of test and learn, which then you track it. Sometimes you get it right. You hope you do 10, 8 is right, 2 is not so right, you learn. But I think that's the shift that we're seeing.
We were just saying that hotels have always thought about airlines being so much more advanced in their revenue management system, and we were learning a lot over the years. We felt the airlines nailed it and hotels weren't, but understand, so it's the alphabet and then the number of seats. Got it.
We have alphabets.
Got it.
Alphabets,
Okay,
dollars.
Right.
We get more revenue. I think that's
Remember that team over there?
I think Z's made it sound very, very simple. I think it's probably a lot more complex
the
than
more
that.
the merrier, basically.
Got it.
Next one for you, Klaus. So you're a great partner of SiteMinder's. So given your role as Chief Evangelist, can you explain the concept of dynamic revenue management and why it's needed more than ever in the hotel industry?
I thought you would ask me to explain Chief Evangelist. That would have been.
Okay, you're welcome to have a go at that as well. It sounds like a made-up job.
I mean, coming back to the previous question, I think the biggest challenge is actually the increase in complexity of what a revenue or a commercial leader, let's call them commercial leaders, what they have to go through and what they have to deal with, you know, compared to when I was a revenue manager a few years ago, and just the dynamism. I'm Austrian, so I can speak English however I want. Dynamism of the market. You have the channels, and you have the rates, and you have the all the different kind of variables that you have to consider. And if you're thinking about a typical revenue manager in a hotel, probably has to make about 5 million pricing decisions every year, just based on segments and room types and length of stays and all that. It's just impossible to do that dynamically on a manual basis. So when we talk about how do you actually do that dynamically and do that multiple times a day, it's moving towards a scenario where you actually just be the custodian of something that is taking that 5 million decision onto you. And I love what Sankar said earlier about what is the cost of the wrong decision. I'm going to use that from now forward. But that's really what it comes down to. What is the cost when you have 5 million decisions to make? And you make the wrong decisions 1 time, 2 times, 1 million times, that adds up very, very quickly.
And what about, this is probably a good one for you, Tamie, I think. How about navigating revenue optimization and customer satisfaction? How do you balance that out?
It's a lot about training the actual person standing in front of the customer or on the phone. You've really got to empower them to have the talk lines, to have the patter, to understand why we're changing the price every day. I've come across a lot of staff who are like, but Tamie, why did you put the price up? And it's like, I've got to explain to them every step of the way. I changed the price because every extra dollar I earn could be a pay rise for you. It could be renovating. Start out with a good one.
I like the way you do that.
It could be renovating the rooms. It could be adding additional services. So really empowering that person to stand in front of a customer and go, yeah, I know you paid $120 last week, but it's $125 today.
Okay. Any other comments?
I think slowly the guests or travellers have come to understand it a little bit better over the years, and I think it's hotels following suit from the leaders and global leaders that are excelling in that space. So it's an interesting thing.
And we can always blame it on you.
Exactly right. That is, as we
Why
ride it,
has
we
my
follow
room
them.
price changed? Well, you know in the airlines.
We use it as an example, similar to how airlines
when you
do
book
it.
Virgin and Qantas, it's going to change depending on what time and what
Look
day.
then and now to get that rate.
Yeah.
That's right. I think
All right, we're going to shift a little bit to the future. So you sort of touched this a little bit before, Ryan. This actually question was for Z, but it feels as though the airline industry is a fair way ahead of the hotel industry in terms of revenue management, although we've learned now it's all about the alphabet. Z, any tips or tricks or insights you could share with the audience on how they can evolve?
So I mean, maybe I reflect as an airline and maybe as a company. I think we are evolving away from the alphabets, like I said. It's hard because I think the diagram was actually very good. It's hard because we actually have to distribute by the alphabet. But we come with creative ways. So now we have multiple price points for each alphabet, for example. We found ways to do that, and we have a lot of alphabets. So if you think about 20 alphabets every flight, we can have 2 to 3 price points. 40, 50, 60, we can change our pricing by different channels, so we can up to 100 price points for every single flight we fly. And so looking forward, the sophistication, it's about, I kind of say 3 flavors. One is consider competitor setting. For us, it's very important. Supply demand is very sensitive because we can change flight. Competition can come or leave. Demand, the world is slightly different now. It's quite different now, pre and post-COVID, between B2B recovery, between leisure segments, post-pent-up demand, et cetera. So managing that and managing demand is complex. I would say internally, what is very complex is to get all the price point right and optimize the best, not just revenue, but the best profit for the business. I think this is beyond just the price for the seats. All airlines go for different angles. We unbundle our products, we bundle our products, we look at ancillary, we look at everything else. And I think the whole concept becomes, how do we at some point manage the complexity systematically and not just behind the scenes, anyone can do whatever they want, but I think they're all empowered to do what they need to do, but we need to all cross-breed and learn, because for me, that is the biggest thing that we do is how do we structurally set up something and cross-breed and learn and take actions. The last thing I would say is we all have internal targets. We all are living and breathing P&L, I think, and that's the reality of the business, and so the complexity of the revenue managers over time will have to start thinking through within the competitor settings, within my prediction of demand and my internal targets, we all have those, is what exactly is the sweet spot for volume play and consumer surplus? And I think those questions are really, really important, because I think gone are the days where we just want volume, or gone are the days that we don't want volume, we just want yield. I think right now, why the term is transition away from yield management to actually revenue optimization, because you need both levers. And for me, the question I give my team and the challenge I give my team is very simple. We have a booking curve by volume, by price, for every single route, for every single flight, for different times in the day, for days of week, for different seasons. The question is the shape the best shape? And I think everyone have a different view. The question is, it has to be conditioned to the market. And so for me, the question, I think the complexity is figuring out the counterbalance of you can't do everything. So you need help, you need data, you need platforms, you need smart platforms to help you do the math. You need to trust it. And the earlier you embark on it, the earlier the product or the decision support tool will learn and improve. It will get better over time. And I think for me, it's the transitioning between asking yourself the question, which is your biggest strategic bet, and it's the shape the right shape. And for me, that is the key unlock.
So unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time. So a couple of last quick questions, and then we'll let these people go and have a martini. So it feels as though revenue management was once the domain of only the large hotels who had their dedicated revenue managers or teams. How do you think the evolution of revenue management capabilities to all hotels will change the industry? I'm going to start with you, Tamie, on that one.
So I think I have a very lovely story I love telling about the first hotel in a very regional part of Queensland that I was taken on to do their outsourced revenue management, and I quickly identified their Tuesday and Wednesday nights always sold out. And I went back to the owners and I said, I want to put your price up. And they were like, no. The customers are used to paying $140. The staff are used to paying $140. You can't put it up. I was like, can I just go $1? $1. Tamie, okay. But you've got to put it back down as soon as the customers stop booking. So I took this hotel on. It was one of my first clients 9 years ago. We have, over that time, we have tripled their monthly income, and they now question nothing that I do. And that is a really regional location in Queensland, and they've gone from this very fixed price. We play to our heart's content. The owners now own 5 other hotels, and their first phone call is always, Tamie, can you just do I don't know what you do, just do it. And we just revenue manage it for them.
Any views, Klaus?
We should call it revenue magic, right?
Yeah.
No, I think I've talked about democratizing revenue management for a long time. So we're no longer kind of stuck in the most complex and complicated hotels. Our company does hotels or campgrounds or alternative accommodation as small as 10 rooms or 5 rooms. It's no longer the size that matters. Is really the problem you're trying to solve. Ron?
How it will change moving forward. I keep coming back to this embracing the technology. I think hotels still have to put things on cruise control with the technology and with our RMS systems and with distribution, because there's still a fear factor with the revenue managers not trusting the technology just yet. So I say to the guys, look, if we're embracing the technology and learning from it, you're a lot more powerful to the business by doing that and working with it. That's where I see it moving.
All right, so unfortunately we're coming towards an end, but I do have one last question. So Leah Rankin, our SiteMinder's Chief Product Officer, is going to be joining us very soon, and she's going to take the stage to unveil our new product, which I'm sure everybody is waiting for, Dynamic Revenue Plus. So this is for you, Tamie. So as someone with some knowledge of the product, so you've been able to have a little bit of a play, and been on the beta program, how do you see it aligning with the themes we've discussed over the past 30 minutes or so, and what value do you believe it will bring to hotels?
I use the word, it's going to democratise revenue management, because it's going to make it so simple for everybody to revenue manage their products. Quite often we work with hotels trying to work out a technology stack. We're trying to put in something that then doesn't connect to something else, and oh no, that PMS doesn't work with this, and it just gets very complicated. And we've got lots of support teams we're calling. We're trying to fix mapping issues, all these sorts of things, and just having revenue management within SiteMinder that's already set up. We know how to use it. It's just going to make life so much simpler. And I especially love the fact that I'm going to get messages on my mobile, so I can do that on the way to work.
Don't give too much away.
Sorry. You're not going to have anything on your
Well,
mobile.
Leah's got nothing to talk about now.
Sorry, Leah.
No, she does. She's got lots to talk about. So I won't keep you any longer. So on that note, I'd like to thank all of our panellists. So thank you.